Absolutely. So going into breeds and fashions and fads and all that, dogs are not, or pets are not a purse. They're not a car. They're not an accessory. And I've seen that. I could name you exactly the decades or the periods where a certain breed was popular, and then it's another one and another one. And these dogs suffer um, not only from being adopted by unaware people, but also because they usually become inbred and
Yeah.
become more disease prone, or they can't breathe because their noses are too short, or their airways are collapsing, and so on. And they have multitude of really serious problems that sometimes ends with very severe propensity to cancer or to shorten lifespan. Many breeds are like that. And what's happening on that level, but yeah.
But doing your research is absolutely crucial because, you know,
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
most people completely underestimate the amount of exercise that a dog needs and a human to stay healthy, and the type of exercise, because they need to be allowed to move and interact as a dog moves and interacts. And, you know, a walk on the harness around the block of a housing estate is not going to do it for most dogs or most humans. Do you want to talk a bit about that, Peter? Because that's crucial again when people get dogs, to understand what they need and how much exercise they can and can't have at certain ages, for example.
Okay. Why don't we just start with the adult dogs first,
Yeah.
and then we move on to puppies, because you wanted to talk about puppies anyway, and what to do after a puppy comes in the house if it's an adopted puppy. So I agree with you 100% that dogs can get enough exercise on the leash. And our society, in many places, I think UK is one of the best places in the
Yeah.
world for dogs. The same in Prague and Czech Republic, very dog-friendly country. Canada is somewhere in between, where the leash laws are so restrictive, where dogs often don't get a chance to be off the leash, and we cannot basically exercise. I mean, yes, some dogs can jog with people. Some people overdo it by trying to make dogs running behind a bike or something, which is really horrible. And the extremes that I've seen is that people actually get their dog to some sort of field road and sit in a truck and drive, and the dog is trying to catch up with them, which is, in my mind, criminal
Yeah.
offense. But going back to the leash, so I think that there are several different kind of ideals that I would love to kind of help to implement. And one of them is that every dog and every place has off-leash places, but not these ghettos where there's a fence little area for dogs to misbehave and fight and be dysfunctional. It's more just the parks and the space where they can run. And the other thing is that most people actually don't have a very good recall with dogs. And dogs, so recall can be practiced. There are obviously many YouTube videos and behaviors who teach that. Just having good treats in the pocket and teaching puppies at home to come when they are called is easy, because when they're half a meter away and we call them and give them a treat, that's where the brain starts kicking in and the pathways build up. But when we go out and we try to call our dog when there is another dog there, and maybe there is something in the bushes that they want to smell, and there is so much distraction, it's a really recipe for disaster, because many people start repeating their dog's name or the recall. And what happens when we repeat too much? We get numb and immune to it, right? So our dogs don't almost hear it. And I see that all the time. And eventually it becomes dangerous. The next step is kind of what kind of restraint we use when we have them on the leash. Many people, and I stop people all the time in the park, and I have this little spiel where I kind of praise them for, having a beautiful dog, and then I try to engage them in a conversation about the collar, because I said, hey, did you know that? I don't tell them I'm a vet, but I tell them, did you know that the collar pushes on the thyroid gland right here, and it's super important to protect it. And if your dog pulls, it may, such a beautiful dog, you don't want it to become sick. So often people actually say, oh, I never knew that. And that's something that is not taught in veterinary schools, and it should be. And then there are the next stages where people use the prawn collars or choke chains, shock collars. There are super important structures right here. Vagal nerve starts in the neck, and it supplies the nerve flow or innervates the heart and the lungs and the digestive tract and all the other organs, kidneys. So when the vagal nerve gets injured, it can create a whole bunch of systemic conditions, and people don't really realize that the collar is actually a cause of many health problems in dogs. So I must say that I put a leash on the collar of my on Pax once when I forgot the harness. And it was like we went to the restaurant and I put him on the collar, and then I actually took the leash and I kind of like wound it around his body more than the neck, because what if he wanted to say something to someone? So it kind of tells you how important I consider this, because I've seen so many dogs being damaged. And it can be from ear and eye problems to lameness in the front legs, because the nerves for the front leg also come to the front legs and feet, to organ disease, hypothyroidism. All those are caused by the collar. So I do my best to inform people, and maybe people think that I'm a little crazy that I stop dog lovers on the walk. But I think that every time we do that, we actually make a difference. Now, when I come to Vancouver, where I worked and my other colleagues worked for a couple of decades, you almost don't see a dog on a collar.
Yeah.
And when I go on a dog walk and I see that, I go, I wonder whether we made a difference. I don't know for sure, but it makes me feel really good. So the collar and the intensity of the exercise, puppies should play and kind of go for easy walks until the age of 6 to 7, 8 months, and maybe even beyond. So think about it this way: the growth plates are open. When they fall somewhere, or when they get stressed by too intense exercise, let's say we're running in the park and retrieving a ball or a frisbee, they can break their growth plates. They can cause serious damage, and also they can start having some other issues. My first dog, Sky, a border collie that was ball obsessed from very early age, and guess whose fault it was? He started having diarrhea at the age of 3 or 4 months, and nothing worked. Absolutely nothing worked. I was absolutely terrified that we were going to lose him. And it went for weeks and weeks. And then I started to kind of look at some different Chinese medicine approaches and so on. And I realized that the energy pathways and nerve pathways come to the intestines, come from the lumbar area.
Yeah.
He sprained and strained his muscles and probably slipped and slit a few times. And it affected the function of the gut. So now part of the diarrhea protocol in my practice or in my writing is to actually look after the back, or stop doing these exercises that are really intense and injurious. Not saying that dogs should never do it, but some dogs do it for hours and hours a day.